Welcome back to Giddy Up, everyone. My name is Marnie, and I am your host for this podcast. Giddy Up is a permission to take the leap to chase the life that you actually want with resilience and optimism and community. If you're new to the show, I created Giddy Up because I know what it feels like to need a space to share your reality and your story, but can't find your community. So I created one. The intention behind this podcast is to bring you real conversations that are raw, that break the stigma and inspire you and remind you that you are not alone in whatever you are carrying. If you think you are ready for today's episode, you're not. You are not ready for this. I want everyone listening to know that coming on any podcast and sharing your personal story is incredibly vulnerable. It feels like such a roller coaster, and anyone that's been on this show is trusting me in ways that I will forever appreciate. Florence is one of the strongest women I have ever met, not only in surviving what she has, but in reclaiming her story, not letting it control her narrative. This woman is a prime example of why I started this podcast. I am so grateful to have gotten to sit down with her. This episode is for women at all stages of their life. Whether you're 17 years old or a single mother, whether you want to start your own business, need to believe in yourself, need to get out of a relationship, if you want children, if you want love. We explore her journey from childhood to motherhood, how grief shaped her path, how she survived COVID in a very dark time raising a baby by herself, and led her to create a successful business, One for Blue. We dive into birth, and honestly, watching her is making me want to become a mom. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. We're growing. I highly recommend watching this episode on YouTube to get the full effect. There's a lot that you will miss in terms of the ways that we laugh and cry through these insane moments, just all the quirkiness. In the last 30 minutes, we really dive into her business. So listen until the end to hear how she built her business and found a really beautiful relationship after her first child. If you connect to this episode, please do one thing for me and support us. Rate this show 5 stars after listening. This is purely a passion project to bring us together, and your attention, your comments and shares, they're my currency to reach more people. Leave us a comment on Spotify, share it to your feed, send it to a friend. It would mean the absolute world to me. Enjoy. Florence Manson-Blair.
Hi.
Welcome to Giddy Up.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling?
Terrible in the best way. This is my nightmare, but it's also like a good thing to push myself to do.
A fever dream.
A fever dream. And it's like, welcome to my living room. So
yes.
We're going to be okay.
We're in Flo's house.
Flo's house.
It means a lot to be here. It means a lot to get to talk to you and do this with you.
Here we go.
Ready?
No. Yeah.
Okay. Today's episode is a really special one. Flo is the coolest mom of 2, a business owner, and someone who has rebuilt her life from the ground up more times than most people ever have to. She grew up in Victoria, surrounded by sports, the ocean, and a sense of independence, soccer games, sailing, being outside. On the surface, it looked like a very beautiful childhood, but underneath, grief arrived early. Her parents separated when she was 8 or 9, and the same year her dad was diagnosed with cancer. And then at 17, she faced every child's worst fear, losing her mom to pancreatic cancer. What came after that was not what life really expected for her. She found herself in a toxic relationship and slowly took more from her that she realized. She became a mother at 23, largely on her own in the middle of COVID and isolation without the kind of support most people rely on. She also started sewing at night after her son went to sleep to get by and turned it into a business called One for Blue, a children's clothing brand that she built from scratch. What you see when you meet Flo is someone who is warm and funny and grounded and incredibly self-aware. What you do not see is everything that she's had to move through to become this version of herself. She currently lives on Vancouver Island with her partner and her 2 boys, and this conversation is going to go incredibly deep. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
A lot to get into.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid.
Let's just dive right in. Okay. If you could paint a picture of your childhood, what would it look like?
Wow. I don't know if I could do it in one photo or one painting. There is definitely like magical moments from my childhood. And I think both my parents put a lot of intention behind getting my little sister and I outside and getting us involved in community. My mom definitely shaped how I was raised by taking us camping and doing soccer and like very artistic individual and organized. My mom was like the champion of our home. And my dad was a super whimsical, super imaginative dreamer, and he had a sailboat. So we had this nice balance of going outside with both parents, but like early childhood, it was more of a collective family thing. And so there was definitely cool memories that I have of experiences and stuff little on the water.
The 90s.
Yeah, the 90s.
Yeah, so cool.
And as I got older, the painting changes.
Yeah.
You know, the picture shifts a little bit.
Yeah.
Before age 8 and 9, I think my sister and I got a lot of fairy time in the garden. We had access to arts and crafts.
Yes.
We got to sew things.
Yeah.
We got to
creative.
knit. We went to,
creative kids.
Montessori school. So we got a lot of
Lovely.
that was blissful. And then after that, things did change.
As it does. You grew up where your parents met playing pickup soccer.
Yeah.
Sport was literally the DNA of your family, which is so cute. What did that structure give you as a kid?
So my parents met across the street from my dad's house playing drop-in soccer. They both had 70s Westphalia vans. The rest is history. Yeah. I'm pretty sure their first date was up to Mount Washington to go cross-country skiing, actually. Match made in not heaven.
Yeah.
But cute stories for sure. But yeah, growing up, sport was like the focus of our life. My dad coached my soccer teams and my mom coached my sisters. So it was like divide and conquer. It just really shaped the schedule, shaped the end of summer. We had training camps in August and then go right into the season. There was a lot of travel, but it was great.
Were you like a structured kid?
No. The structure that I've implemented in my life now makes me laugh. Waking up early, writing all the lists that I do, working for myself, even all of these things as a kid, I could have never thought. I didn't realize the discipline structure that you can implement on your own life was a benefit as a kid. Like I really wanted to just do what I wanted to do. Run wild. I always have been an introspective thinker, very quiet and shy, overthinking stuff, and always asking my sister to like go ask for another ketchup at the restaurant. Please, can you please?
What's with the older sister? My sister was the same. She couldn't make phone calls.
Yeah, no,
she couldn't make her own appointments.
I think part of it is that I know I could ask my little sister to do it. And then her confidence of wanting to like present older.
Right.
So then a funny side quest of that is we ended up on the same school team in high school. And I ended up somehow being captain of the soccer team. Oh. I was center mid and just like overwhelmed in life. And my little sister was also center mid with me. And we'd get on the field and I would like look at the two people that were our options for checks. And I'd be like, Maggie, you've got this. She would too, which is so cute.
Cute.
Yeah. So we worked really well on a team together.
Love.
Yeah, it was cute.
When you think about your parents, tell me one thing that each of them shaped in you.
I think my dad did help create the dreamer in me. There's a persistence from him to like seek beauty in life that I really value. It's like a little unhealthy, to be
a dreamer.
Such a dreamer. Life shaped me into someone that's like definitely more realistic. I
also think because of the traumatic life that we've both had, being dreamers helps you get through it. Oh, yeah. Because you're like, oh no, I have to survive because I see the life in my head and it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I think all these people around me deserve a good life. So then I'm like, okay, you can do it too. Like, what can you picture for the future? And I think that's something I'm learning as an adult too, not to be so woo-woo in like manifesting, because that makes me a little bit overwhelmed. You're allowed to picture a life that you want though, and you're allowed to envision things that just feed your soul in the future. Yes. And it doesn't mean you're naive or silly. It means that you have goals and you need to be realistic about them. But at the end of the day, I think it's really helped push me out of really hard times. Obviously, having children is the main motivator. I'm like, oh, the future must be bright because I will make it bright for my children.
Absolutely. We'll get into that.
Yeah. And then my mom, she just honestly is my everything. I don't pray to God, I pray to my mom. I am not a religious person. I don't think about an afterlife or like other things in a way that other people do. But if I go inward and I need to access something extra and something bigger, I think about her. When my parents split, she just was so graceful with my sister and I. My dad was diagnosed with cancer shortly after my parents split. And I think now being an adult that's like gone through a separation and realizing how you speak about your child's other parent, even if you are so immensely hurt. My mom's position was trying not to talk about somebody poorly that was so objectively sick and a victim of life because he wasn't supposed to make it. But then she was going through this separation and her feelings around why their relationship didn't work were so valid. I just gloss over my parents' split because they weren't meant to be together, but it also didn't really get much time.
It wasn't in the limelight. He was in the limelight.
Yeah. So I since...
Fairly so.
Yeah. I since have read her journals, which is a pretty wild thing. And she journaled religiously, which is really beautiful.
I need to get into that a little bit more. I'm getting there.
I do it too. Wow. But like if I leave it open and then Curtis is like, oh, honey, you can't spell anything. Like, I know. But, and like, they're just words all over a page. Like, my mom wrote what felt like letters to almost to an audience because so much of her journal entries were just so eloquent. And obviously, like, that generation.
People were way more eloquent back then.
Yeah. And her writing, like, I'm picturing it, you know, as I speak. But she was phenomenal. I could read it as an adult. And that struggle of her to like, speak well of her kid's dad to her children while she's so hurt. And like there were circumstances in their relationship.
You're still learning from her, I feel like.
Yeah. So it feels like she has been this lasting guiding light, though, of the energy that I want to have at home. The longer the time passes, it's been about 11 years now. And so part of me is sad because I don't really know her. As an adult, I have not had this perspective. I would have all these questions to ask her. And I felt that at 17, but the questions were, totally I couldn't even tell you what the questions were. And I don't really know what her essence would feel like if she was here. But what I do know is how I felt at home. And so through my parents' split, my mom moved. We actually moved up the street from my dad's. So my sister and I would go back and forth. But I knew that going to her home, it was going to be clean. There was going to be music. It would smell good.
Good vibes.
Good food. She really knew how to relax. Sunday morning, she's out on the back deck in her chair, painting her nails, listening to music.
Wow.
And I remember that. I'm like, okay, so she sets it up.
What's her name?
Marion. And so her nickname was Marnie.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh
which
my God.
Immediately, like, the first time I met you, I think you invited me to do the podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
pregnant. I was like, okay, no. But
you also told me immediately, you're like, my mom died when I was 17. And I was like, that's what I love about this podcast.
Yeah, because you're like, I'm Marnie. I'm like, hi, Marnie.
Here's all my deep, dark trauma.
I have a Marnie, too. And I remember when she was sick, she was like, I don't like my name. You don't need to name your kid Marion. Yeah. You know, little Bloomy could be little Marion.
Oh my God, that's so nice.
But, yeah.
Okay, let's just jump right into your dad's illness.
Yeah.
We won't go too deep because there's too much. But you told me the day that your dad got sick was the start of your anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to highlight. Can you take me back to like what that felt like? Waking up, not being able to reach him, assuming he had died, assuming the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think not everybody has pinpoint origin that they can be like, oh, my anxiety ties back to this. So for me, it really looked like the anxiety around reaching him. He never answered the phone. I remember just calling him repeatedly. He would go sailing by himself or with his girlfriend and
said the best service was on the boat.
That transition from landline to cell phone, he took that one really hard and just didn't answer the phone. And so with timing wise, with him getting sick and my sister and I then splitting time between houses, it meant that there were days when I woke up, I remember my mom would do early morning walks. And instead of being like, oh, I know that it's Tuesday and my mom walks on Tuesdays and then like she'll be back, you know, instead my brain was like, my dad's died. My mom just went there immediately, even though it's her ex. She just went there immediately to like, I don't know. And my sister and I are alone and I don't know what to do.
And you're 9 years old at this point.
Yeah. And the anxiety is sheer panic, full body, just overwhelming. And I have always had this sense of wanting to protect my little sister, you know, even if she's not asking for it, even if we're only 2 years apart. I remember at 9 being like, okay, I have to make sure it's okay for Maggie. He wasn't dead. He just didn't answer the phone. But he was a middle school history teacher. He absolutely loved his job teaching and coaching. And him getting sick, like he always told me after his treatment and everything, he was like, I kept everything inside. I made myself sick. He is from the UK. And so talking about his feelings and his childhood, etc., were not great. And I think it's part of like the breakdown between my parents. Like he couldn't talk about his feelings.
He said that he made himself sick.
Yeah, he said it a lot in my life.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the book The Body Keeps the Score?
Absolutely.
And you read it?
I haven't read it because I don't want
It's your
to.
life.
Yeah, I'm good.
That is a lot of what comes from that book is what can happen to you if you're not. Yeah.
And almost like a progressive statement from a British boomer. Yeah, you can
so interesting.
Make yourself sick. But that stuck with me for sure. Him being sick was a couple years. He started with surgery, and he had complications. So he had metastasized colon cancer. So he has, to this day, tumors in his lungs and his liver, and he had most of his colon taken out immediately. So he has like massive scar. Did that. There was complications. Like I remember seeing him in the hospital after and just being shocked at how many tubes and like all that. But he was so positive. He's like, I'm okay. We were at a awkward age where me at like 9 or 10 was taking stuff in, realizing the gravity of it. And I think part of the anxiety started from that. And then your parents don't really want to tell you all the details. Like I remember him repeatedly being like, I have more of a chance of being hit by a bus and killed than I do of dying from cancer. That is a blatant lie. Like that is insane.
Who are you kidding?
Yeah. Where did you come up with that? I'm like picturing O'Malley being dragged by the bus in Grey's Anatomy. Anyways.
Don't know if you're a Grey's girl.
Probably not going to die from a bus, so probably not going to die from cancer. But at the same time, I could feel the energy in the room of all the adults just be heavy and like worried about him.
Looking back, what were you carrying with you in the classrooms that no one really saw? I feel like as a young girl, we've been through a similar timeline of like just how dark it is inside. What did that look like?
Because he was a teacher, he taught at a private school. And so when he was diagnosed, he went to his headmaster at his school and he was like, my goal is to have my daughters come to this school for like a really good education. I might not be here anymore. What can we do about the scholarships that are provided to teachers' children? Basically, his headmaster was like, don't worry, it'll be okay. Your kids can apply to the school and we can arrange that yearly they get that scholarship, even if you're not here. That was such a gift. But at the end of the day, I think to switch schools at that point was extra. It was too much. So when I went, I just didn't fit in. And it was a lot of rich kids, a lot of kids that had been there since they were 5, all together, small class sizes. I just felt so out of place, and I really didn't find my footing again until high school. But he was sick for 3 years, so like that anxiety was just like this persistent home thing was so overwhelming. And I would go to school every day and just be internal. Like I'm sporty, so I was always busy and always had soccer, like always had a few friends, but I hated going to private school. And that part was really hard.
Relatable. When you look back at that little girl watching her dad go through chemo, having panic attacks at 9 years old, getting bullied, trying to hold it all together, how much empathy do you have for her now?
Oh, so much. I think a lot of the gift of getting older for me has been to retroactively be empathetic to myself. I feel that way with my journey with ADHD and my journey with both my parents being sick. Like, I have so much empathy, and it actually makes me want to connect with young girls, like middle school, high school age. Don't even need to say anything. I don't even need to look at you, but I see you, and I want people to know that they're not alone. And in some ways, I don't really know what to do with that empathy.
I know.
But
isn't it crazy how you just see a young girl and you just want to pick her up and just be like, I got you.
I fucking swear it'll get better.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know? I do think, too, throughout this entire time, having a little sister was my lifeline. And that in my life, she has been my constant. And I think
that's so nice.
Getting older together and still having that. Now she's like the second mom to my children. She would do anything for them and anything for me too.
What a blessing.
Yeah, like truly the reason I had a second child.
Before we get into what happened, this episode is sponsored by the one and only Brian Pudney. If you're watching on YouTube, you will see the beautiful living room that we are filming this episode in, which is a home in Ucluelet, Vancouver Island. Brian is a local realtor and dad in town, and if you are ever interested in finding your dream home or just have some questions about the market in Tofino or Ucluelet, feel free to reach out to Brian at bpudney@rennie.com, or you can text him. All of his details are in our show notes. Before we get into what happened, tell me about your mom. Who was she?
So Marion was just the best. She was totally ahead of her time in a lot of ways. And another thing about getting older is just like, oh my God, I had a good mom. Obviously, I'm about to talk about my grief journey, but I had a really good one. And that is just not lost on me at all. She was the youngest of 4. She had an older sister that was 11 years older and then 2 brothers in between. So she was a total tomboy, blessed with 2 girls, which is kind of funny to me. I feel like I'm a little bit more of a girly girl and I have 2 boys. But she always grew up in Ontario playing hockey on boys teams. I have an article on the wall over there that talks about her playing on the boys high school soccer team.
Legend.
Change maker. Like, awesome. Just super cool.
So cool.
I saw, like, in my mom, just such a strong person. She traveled the world. She lived in Guatemala, Venezuela.
When you told me that, I was like, that's so freaking cool.
She spoke Spanish and French to me growing up. I hated it. I feel so bad. Didn't just
You wish you could go back.
shut up and talk to her in another language. I'm on Duolingo now as an adult. Just like, what is wrong with you? She gave you that and you
fucked it up.
didn't fucking like it, you know? Oh my God. Yeah. But she was just actually so cool. So she stayed home with us until I was in about grade 4. And she went back to school right before my parents split and then was in school at night and early morning for the first few years of her single motherhood journey, which obviously is just like the biggest motivator to me.
Moms are just the best.
Yeah. But she just was kind. She had a phenomenal group of women around her. And then also her soccer team. So she just had these 2 friend groups.
Pillars.
It was really obvious, like when you lose someone, what their standing in community is. My mom was the glue. My mom was the glue of her family, of my family. Any access to community that I had was because of her. Structure, home, energy, everything. I could just see a cinematic scene where I see the highlighted reel of her just making everybody feel really at home. Mm-hmm. And I remember being on her lap at parties as a kid. All her friends had little girls as well. And if other people's parents weren't maybe being so nice, she'd just pull Maggie and I in and be like, I love you so much. And that to me is everything. I try and do that with my kids. I want them to be reassured that in a public space and in home, I am that person. They're okay.
So much to learn from that.
Yeah, we definitely fought. Like by middle school, we totally
okay, good,
fought.
because I was getting really jealous there for a second.
No, we totally fought. Oh my God. Like 3 women in a house?
Yeah.
You know, probably on the same cycle. Hell.
Crazy. No, it's wild.
But I go there in my dreams.
In the summer before grade 11, your mom starts having back pain, digestive issues, pain when she eats. She came and picked you up from school one day crying, asking you to drive. You had your learner's permit. What was going through your head in the car?
Yeah, so the timeline from her having her first symptoms was like the summer, I'd say like June, July, August of 2013. And then by February 2014, that was when she came to my school. I had my learner's permit. She was in the passenger seat. She was just in tears. And she was like, I need help. Like she would sit on the floor in the kitchen on the little stool and ask Maggie and I to like pound on her back where it hurt. And obviously getting older, your body hurts, but it was different for her. She had all these elimination diets, everything, and nothing worked. It was only getting worse. So when she picked me up, we were going to my doctor's appointment for like acne or something, you know, of course. As you do at 16. Yeah. We went in my doctor's office and he was like, I'm going to call the hospital. You should go home. And
so up until this point, she didn't know it was cancer.
She didn't know. Yeah, she thought it was digestive. And so she was 50. And the healthiest person I knew. She was organic granola before.
It was cool.
Yeah, I was embarrassed. I wanted Kraft dinner, like really bad. Our family doctor called ahead to the hospital and I went home. Her boyfriend picked her up and took her and I was alone with my little sister. I think our learned experience with my dad being sick at such like a pivotal time in your life, right? Like you talk about complex trauma. Anything that happens when you're younger, like what happened with my dad at 9, that formed what I thought reality was. So already my sister and I had anxiety that people could get sick. It'd been proven that they can get better, but people could get sick. My sister was sobbing, being like, Mom has cancer. And I remember being like, oh my God, we can't go there yet. It's totally fine. You know, the list of things you can go through before it's that is massive. Lightning doesn't strike twice, of course. So I remember that night. And then the next morning, she stayed overnight. And so my sister and I got up, we made breakfast, and her friend came to pick us up because I still only had my learner's permit. I remember my first class was a fitness and conditioning class.
It's crazy how much you remember when it's like very traumatic.
And in some ways, I'm not even sure if I remember it. It plays like a movie and the scenes are the same every time. I kind of don't really remember, but I also clearly I do.
You're like, was that my life or it was something happened?
Yeah. So I had this fitness and conditioning class in the morning, and I was really learning to love movement. My teacher, Mr. Daly, was phenomenal, and he was creating me this book of like all these workouts for an athlete. He was a coach and he taught this thing. And I remember being like, can I just do my workout and then go change and go to the library? And I told him what was going on. I said, my mom's been in the hospital overnight and I'm just super stressed about it. And without like really saying much, he was just like, absolutely, you go do you. So I went back into the library that's all fancy and all quiet. Hogwarts. And I called my mom. What my sister and I learned with my dad was so stressful that like I couldn't really wait. So I remember just being like, what's going on? She's like, oh, well, they're running more tests and all this stuff. And there was just this pause. This happened multiple times throughout her health journey. Taking a pause and like having this question that I was playing with in my head, being like, I don't know if I want to ask that. Like, I don't really want to know. But I was like, is there a tumor? She was quiet and just was like, yeah. I could hear in her voice that she didn't want to lie, but I just needed to know. And I just broke down, but I also didn't want her to stress. So I remember just being like, okay, like it's going to be okay. Because I know people can get better. And I know not all tumors are cancer. Just repeating like what I do know. I remember making eye contact with like other teenagers, sobbing in the library, just being like, okay, like move on with your day. So my dad came and picked Maggie and I up at noon that day. We're driving back in the car and my sister's like, does anybody know what's going on with mom? I just start laughing. I just start hilariously laughing because I'm just so overwhelmed, which is just like a theme throughout her treatment and her being sick. Randomly, the three of us,
bursting
Maggie,
into
Mary,
laughter.
and me, we're just like laughing because it's so awkward sometimes. Like it's too much. It was to have any information that my sister didn't have in that moment.
Right.
So we go home and like immediately when my mom got sick, it was like a switch went off. My parents didn't get on very well. Now my dad's juicing for my mom. He's like, I'll pick the kids up. Yeah, they had a lot of camaraderie, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And my mom's partner, Evan, I love him. She was so in love. So she was really in like a beautiful, beautiful phase of her life, which is really sad. But like together, Evan and my dad and my mom were like a really, really amazing team for my sister and I. And from there, I couldn't tell you much of what happened in the next few months, but the politics and finances attached to cancer treatment is real. And once you pass a certain point in your diagnosis and your outcome doesn't look good, you get pushed around a little bit. She just had to fail on a chemotherapy before she could enter a clinical trial. She had to prove her sickness kind of over and over. And so she actually almost passed away the first time she did chemotherapy, which would have been right after she was diagnosed. She just couldn't handle it. And pancreatic cancer, like anybody that has been confronted by it will know, it's one of the worst ones because by the time you have that pain and you're properly diagnosed, it's too late. So she didn't have good options from the beginning, but she was like, I'm obviously gonna fight. Like I can't imagine
Not
being
fighting.
in her shoes. Yeah. And she was the healthiest person that I knew too. How she moved her body, how she treated herself and her social life and everything. She put so much intention into being a healthy individual that I couldn't really compute it. So that feeling of like, well, it'll still be fine, really, really lingered. The entire timeline of her getting sick was February to December. So 11 months. When you are a teenager and you're the child of that sick person, you're not in the room for the like point blank timelines. Like I was grateful that she had a partner that she could do that with, but it also made me feel like I clung to the hopefulness. And then like I didn't want to ask her if she was going to die. And I didn't want to believe it either.
But you could see it in her.
Yeah, that's the thing about dying is it's visual too. I can't believe that I thought she would live in that summer.
Survival.
I look back now and I see this like tiny, frail, bald woman that is so clearly not okay. But I thought like she still was my mom. She smelled the same. She'll be okay. I remember asking her on a hike what actually the timeline would be. And by hike, I mean like a really slow walk up a tiny incline at Mount Doug that we would do as her exercise. She just said like 3 to 6 months.
This was such a tough time for a young girl to go through. Everyone's talking about graduation and what dress are you going to get and counting down this timeline and you're counting down the days knowing your mom isn't going to be here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right time to lose your parent, but I think there's specific logistics in life that applied to me being in the final year of school that made it impossible. Like went to such an academic school that everybody was obsessed with applying to universities.
Dude, same. I feel like we were both in this place where leaving means the end with your parent. And to you, it's like the darkest thing to have looming on you, and everyone's like, well, where are you going? What are you applying to? Have you written your statement, blah, blah, blah? And you're just like, I'm in hell.
I applied to 7 schools.
That's insane.
I didn't go to any of them. I applied to 7 schools.
Good for you.
Like in a weird 2-day mania of I'm just going to apply for the future and then I'm not going to think about it. I remember that it was $750 to apply to that many schools. I really didn't know how to manage like picturing a future for myself while I was waiting for such an inevitable worst time of my life.
The most scary time in a person's life, because you truly can't comprehend what the future looks like after school. All you know is school.
Yeah, like from a point blank standpoint, a scary time in life, right? Looking back on it now, I feel a lot of empathy for myself because I did feel spat out into the world. When you're that young, that feeling of security for me resided in my mom. All these little details, things I faced after she left, where I was like, I'm so dumb. I have nobody to ask. And it would just send me into such a pit of despair. And instead of kind of getting back up and trying again, I wouldn't do it. So I had so much shame around life. I felt immediately inferior. I think part of it was being at the school I was at. Parents are really involved in kids' lives, as they should be. To have support from your parents is amazing. To have guidance from your parents, like as long as it's healthy, is a really great time. But for all the great qualities that my dad has, he does not have that aspect. So it just felt like I lost parents.
Everything.
I lost everything.
You mentioned after losing your mom, you just hit a point where you didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that is just so real for someone who is listening, who's in a dark place and doesn't want to be here or hasn't told anyone that. What would you want them to know?
I think that it always comes back to this feeling of loneliness and defeat. My depression and any struggles that I've really come up with in life since my mom passed have been just like this catapult into grief. And in a lot of ways, like those really, really dark times, I get to feel that hole in my heart and honor that. I would tell them that there's so many things in life that are worth living for. And there's also so many things in life that are there to help you. I so strongly believe in medication. I so strongly believe in counseling and talking about things. Now I look back and I'm like, okay, well, you didn't really have the right community and you didn't really have the right supports.
You didn't have a lot helping you out.
No, and I didn't know the options. I think when we were growing up, it's already different how we talk about medication, how we talk about mental health. Almost striving for like a peaceful mind is new to me because I didn't realize how all-encompassing a depression is. You're not forging your future. You're not pushing yourself to do XYZ. Like you don't want to be here anymore and you're just too tired to go on. And I think that feeling of too tired to go on is now to me so obviously depression and the chemical imbalance that goes on in your brain to get you to a place of despair. A lot of my journey with depression has felt situational, but it's still there in terms of I struggle with it all the time. And it's something that I don't want to have to face it every day. So medication to me has been, instead of making me happy or giving me a good life, it starts you at 0. You're just not in a deficit when you wake up in the morning. I noticed immediately the first time I went on medication, it didn't make me happy.
No, but it helped you get
gave
back.
me like a will to live, which then you're like, okay, well, maybe I can think about school now. Maybe I can try and be a better sister. Maybe I can be a better friend. All of these things definitely, they change, but they change as you get older and there's things you don't know about. Like,
so well said. Thank you for answering that. Anything that you want to share about losing your mom?
I do think it's like a part of the story that gives context. It's also a part of my life story I think I've like avoided talking about.
Oh,
perfect time to share. I would love to talk about it.
Okay.
It was nice for me to listen to your other episodes, Marcus and Dre, sharing so much about their experience caring for somebody passing. Something that's worth being said is it is so unimaginably bleak to watch somebody die. It is slow and clunky and terrifying. For my sister and I, looking back, the anticipation, you lose your parent before they're gone.
Yeah.
Physically. I think Dre touched on it, returning to this stage of infancy before you die.
Yeah.
And that is so real. And I think the dignity that you want to give people that are dying is really real because they have tantrums. They act like little kids. They don't act like themselves. And so as a teenager watching your mom have a tantrum, I remember her partner took a fentanyl patch off the back of her ear and she had a tantrum. I remember just like thinking, this is really hard to watch. And her partner was amazing, checking on me. She's okay. It's okay. But there was a few months before she passed where it was awful and she was gone. And I just didn't realize it. You cling so much to their physical body representing like your parent and your mom to the point where like I wanted her to live as long as possible. Past what I would now think is comfortable and appropriate and all of this stuff. She didn't have the opportunity to do maids. I wish for her that she did. But it took forever and I was busy. I was in high school. I was Monday to Friday with soccer games, homework, and applications for university. I was slammed. So I remember feeling just stressed. I would go to her hospital room in my spare time between class, and then I would rush to leave the hospital to go back to my high school. And I wish now that I didn't stay in such a schedule. I wish I'd just like straight up arranged alternative learning. I don't know if I would have ever finished school, but it was really sad to be so busy at that time. October, November, Thanksgiving, she asked my sister where her parents were or something. She wasn't all there anymore. And we weren't alone with her a lot, but when we were, I would try and ask her things. Like I asked her if she was afraid and she said no. She said she was just scared for my sister and I. But as a mom, I know that is a lie. That would be so scary. Like for her own experience as much as it is for her kids. We had like boy troubles. I had a boyfriend. We had so much noise around and it would feel like everything was quiet and stressful being with my mom. Like it was like every second counted, which was too much pressure. And I remember resenting all the people that came over to take care of her because I just wanted everybody to like give me my time with my mom. And I felt really protective of my sister as well. And yet at the end of the day, there's like all these funny moments from her dying and all these real moments because it takes so fucking long that you have all the 24 hours in a day. You have to like go take a shit. You have to have a shower. You have to eat. You have to do all these like practical things that you're like, oh my God, this is so dumb.
It's crazy that you went through that at such a young age. It's always in the back of my mind for when that comes for me.
Yeah, and it's scary.
And it's the hardest thing and I worry about it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you did that when you were 17 years old.
Yeah. One thing I will say from her passing was I wouldn't have anticipated the almost immediate feeling of relief.
That's a common thing I hear.
You are dealing with somebody that is dying slowly and their dying is like organ failure and they're swollen and they can't eat or drink or clean themselves. You definitely don't want that for them. Yet the fear and anxiety of the anticipation is a bigger beast, I think,
than the reality.
Feeling at least after that scenario. I can't speak on losing somebody in some kind of tragic immediate way, but it really felt like there was space to be like, okay, the worst thing happened. It already happened. And she's not in pain and she's not afraid. But it definitely wasn't something I was anticipating, the relief of at least that part being over. I got a call in the middle of the night. My sister and I were sleeping in my single bed at my dad's house. The voice on the other side said, just like, I think you know what I'm going to say. Like, your mom's passed. Immediately got up, put my clothes on, grabbed my car keys, nudged my sister awake and told her. And I don't really remember what she said. I hugged her, I held her. Then I was like, okay, let's go. And we had like a 15-minute drive to my mom's house and she passed at home, but my parents didn't live together. So we had to drive. And I remember my dad being like, oh no, I'm going to drive you. And I didn't want that. Like, it was like, what if you just drive slow? Like, I just need to do it. I need to take my sister.
You were already a mother at that age.
Yeah. And I remember him running a red light and me being like, what is wrong with you? But then being like, it's literally 3 a.m. Nobody's on the road.
Who fucking cares?
And someone died. Like, you can run the red light. It's okay.
Let's go.
But that's kind of where like the clunkiness comes in, where you're like, oh, I feel the social construct of needing to stop for a colored light. But my mom's dead. She's not going anywhere. We could stop for the red light. And I remember my sister and I sitting with her body, staring at her hands, wanting to memorize them, looking at her eyes, just really wanting to memorize that feeling of what it was like to have a mom and what it was like to have such a good mom. And I realize now, like I'm almost 30. Oh, like not everybody got such an amazing mom to guide them through life. And so even if she's far away, I get to like come home to that and be like, okay, well, the 17 years that I did have, I had an amazing mom. And I had a mom that taught me enough to like bring it into my life now and give it to my kids. You're killing me here. I know.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like what a blessed thing to have.
And so I guess that really like takes me into a gift of my life has also been to grieve so hard that I'm like grateful
That you had such a beautiful woman.
It changes you so much as a person. But there's this community of people that have gone through grief that are so kind. I think to break down to such a point where you don't want to be here anymore or you're so sad, it puts you in a position, or it put me in a position. I think you have two choices. You can either be so angry or you can just like unravel and then rebuild
back up.
how you think the world is and should be and how you treat others. So the years following, like even with depression and everything, like I had this empathy in me that was like an illness. Like I would walk past somebody homeless on the street and they would say something nice to you. Yeah. Oh my God. Like you just realize like everybody
what they went through.
And you don't know who you're passing on the street that's having the fucking worst day of their life. Like their kid could be sick in the hospital, you know, or someone that's homeless and they're being kind to you. They're being kinder than like all the other people have been to you in that day.
When I see homeless people, I see my mother.
Yeah.
I see like this could have easily been my mother.
Yeah.
We don't know who this is. Like I just feel so much for people that are unhoused. People don't understand how easy it is to get into that situation. And yeah, you're right. It does give you this completely new perspective and depth on the human experience and how fucking hard it is.
And just that pain, you're like, I don't want anybody else to feel the
what
pain that I've felt, but I know I'm not so special that I'm the only person that's felt it.
But that's why we're doing this. Yeah. Is so that people that are in your shoes or have something like what you've experienced, at least now can listen to your story.
As a kid, you feel so alone.
Yeah.
Placing myself with the privilege and the gifts that I've been given in life is so important to me because like I think that's why I've survived or what I want to share with my kids.
Yeah, I see that in you.
When you're younger though, you're almost trying it on like an outfit. You're like, you know, I could view the world this way or I could view the world this way. But like the grief one, you don't really get to choose. And it broke me down to such a way where I was just like, I feel so sad for anybody that's having mental health issues, that's having familial issues. But at the end of the day, you almost can't take it all on. And I think I wanted to take on too much to a place where I was then paralyzed to like
people
not
pleaser.
be able to do any total people pleaser. But it definitely is this gift where now I think in my life I'm deeply grateful. And then that gratitude is so real and so tangible that it gets me through hard things now. It's not just this practice of gratitude where I'm just saying the words. No, like my soul is so grateful to have the things that I have now. And for my children, I feel so lucky, but it's been easy.
Even just this next chapter is going to shape up why you feel so lucky.
Yes.
Given everything that you've gone through. Do we have a quick bite of my cookie?
Oh my God, yes, please.
We're back. This is a big chapter. One I've actually wanted to talk about for a very long time, but it's really hard because there's so much shame attached to it.
Yeah.
And doing it by myself is really difficult.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a relationship that really shaped you. Some backstory so we can get right into it. You were 21, living in Victoria, going to school for graphic design. You got a concussion and you had to step away from school. You met someone doing meaningful work with kids. You were immediately drawn to this person. It moved lightning fast. He was 10 years older. Mm-hmm. He made you feel like the center of the world. For someone who had spent years feeling untethered, what did it feel like to be loved like that?
It really felt amazing. And I think for someone that was so broken, like me at 21, I was a few years out of losing my mom and really, really lost. Like I was trying so hard to do what everybody around me was doing and just still felt like this deep sense of sadness. And for anyone that's gone through that, I don't know if you could come out of a grief journey like I had and not at some point have a trauma bond with somebody, whether it's like a friend or whatever. I just felt so seen and honored and magical. Like I was important. I felt for the first time somebody listened and was like, the world should not have done that to you. Let me help you. And so within a week, He said, I love you. And I felt that too. Like I felt it so much because I felt so seen. And I think that was an interesting aspect. The youth program, for everything that it was very emotional. It was a lot of talking about his story from when he was younger and why he wanted to do this, and me just watching and observing and kind of taking in this picture of a person that I'd painted. So we trauma bonded immediately. I was totally love bombed. I wanted this feeling of family so badly. When he said, I love you, I was like, this is my person. This is everything I'm supposed to feel. All these big feelings. Like, this is it.
This is it.
You know?
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize was those big feelings were also anxiety. You do not need to feel.
But you think that you're supposed to.
Yeah, I don't know.
In these movies,
what you're supposed to.
Movies make you think that that's your person.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to feel when you meet the love of your life.
I know. So I was like, wow, like I'm so in love with this. And then there was an aspect too, I think, with the age gap where I was like, this gets to be real because he's a real person.
He's an adult.
He's an adult. And I feel inside so much older than I am. I'm so sad that I spent so long in my 20s trying to be older, because now I'm 28, about to be 29, and I'm like, holy fuck, I gotta cram this in. I gotta do all these things for it. But like, I just wanted that maturity, I think.
Yeah, because you'd been through so much shit.
Yeah, so within a month, we got engaged. I'm so embarrassed.
When you told me this, I needed you to repeat it. So you meet, you go back. Within a week, I love you.
Yeah.
Within a month, you're engaged.
Yeah, which is insane. I kind of knew it, but now it gets more.
And you were how old?
21.
21 years old.
Maybe 22.
Okay.
Maybe
21, 22.
Yeah.
What did being love bombed feel like in your body at the time versus what you understand now?
At the beginning, right away before anything ever went wrong, it felt wonderful. It felt like being adored. But quickly, the grandiosity of the positive has like an iceberg underneath. Really, really quickly after we got engaged, had a fight that like is burned in my brain. Everything changed. You're so shocked by being so loved, and it feels so good. And yet the more shocking thing is for it to be followed up with the reality, because you're already trapped.
And then you're like, how is this happening?
The people you surround yourself with help and change the course of your life, obviously, like friends. I don't think that I had the right relationships in my life to not immediately turn around and just be so ashamed that I fucked up. Like, I fucked up, and part of staying with him was almost like, I need to prove that I didn't fuck up. I need to prove that the love is this is what it's all about, you know? And I didn't have those relationships to be able to like be honest. Like now, something for me that's so important in friendships is I don't have a perfect relationship. I don't have a perfect home. I don't have perfect children. I have beautiful people in my life. But it's not perfect, and I won't pretend that it is. Yeah. Whereas then I felt like I had friendships where we're all playing a little bit of the facade. We're all withholding certain things because you want to be protective, you want to be mature, you want all this. So I just immediately went inward. And part of it too is I wasn't really in a place to be open and honest with anybody in my life.
Because you were so isolated.
Yeah. Honestly, I just was a shell of a person. I feel now that I'm coming back to myself a little bit and being like, what do you like? What do you like to do? I lost myself immediately. I remember going in one of those sensory deprivation tanks. Oh, yeah. The pods.
Was it scary?
I had the worst hour of my life. Yeah. Having so much anxiety, trying to do like a wellness thing for myself. I just left. I just was no longer making choices for myself. I didn't go back to school. I just lost all sense of what I like to do, who I am, everything, because I was just so anxious. And I think now the life that I have, I recognize every single day how different it feels. I didn't really realize how inappropriate our relationship had gotten so quickly.
This was also within COVID times.
Yes.
Amplified the craziness. You bought a house with him. You used your mom's inheritance for that. You did it without a fully formed prefrontal cortex.
Oh my goodness. Wait to choose your life partner until your prefrontal cortex develops.
What do you want to say to women listening who are embarrassed or who thinks that they should have known better?
Oh my God, if I could just melt that shame away for everybody. I'm such a different person now, having gone through that relationship, and the shame is so fucking loud. It applied to everything that I did. It guarded me from friendships. I do not want anybody to feel shameful. I've had friends that have been in difficult situations with men since I've gone through this. And I'm like, I'm right here. Nothing you say is wrong. Nothing you feel is wrong. If you're not ready to fully walk away from that relationship yet, I'm still here. I think that's something that people don't understand. It is really, really hard to leave those situations. You're being manipulated in ways that you don't understand. That person, like, they're making you feel sorry for them and you're living for them.
And they're really good at it.
And they're really good at it. Yeah. And they're really good at driving a wedge between the people that would probably be really good for you to be around too. Planting seeds of doubt between you and your family members. Like,
great manipulators.
And so now I want to be a woman in my community where I'm a safe space. I won't judge you. If you're not ready to fully leave, I'm still a safe space. And I will continue to be while you figure out what's good for you. I do think we always want to relate to people. And in my time being a single mom, people need to look to you and be like, you left somebody? Are you okay? How's it going?
How are you doing it?
How are you doing it? How do you manage your kid? What do you mean? You're in love again? Like, oh my God, there's hope. And it sounds so silly, but it's so real. People need to see
that it can be put done.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So I've met some amazing people
in similar
in
shoes.
Those relationships trying to leave. And especially like with kids, it's so difficult and so scary. I never want anybody to feel shame coming from me. A huge quote of mine in my life is allow others the dignity of their own journey.
Whoa.
I don't want anybody to feel like me as an individual person. I think you're making the wrong choices with your life because honestly, everyone's doing the fucking best that they can.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's also just really incredible because generations before, women probably couldn't have left.
Yeah.
And when you look at everything that you told me, I'm like, holy fuck, man, you struggled. You really struggled. And so I want to talk a little bit about if someone listening right now is in something that feels confusing or heavy, what do you want them to hear?
I want them to know that they will feel it in their body. That to me is huge. Looking back, I honestly think that I didn't have an established sense of self enough to realize that at the time, but my body felt awful. I felt like my heart was just in my throat all the time. Just felt anxiety around like everything that I did. I had this feeling of having two choices for a while before I left. And that was like this feeling of either choosing myself or like just rolling over and like emotionally dying and not seeking any more for myself. It felt like, okay, I can be in this unhappy relationship and live every day for this other person and allow their moods to dictate the tone of my home, allow where they want to live to dictate the course of my life, or I could choose myself. And I think that's what got me out was because I sat with that. Like the manipulation in that relationship was so massive because I'd been through counseling. I'd been through grief. I knew how to talk about my feelings. I knew how to go through hard stuff. But this relationship was making me feel like I couldn't crack the code. I couldn't say the right thing. I had to really think about the words, all of this. It was so all encompassing and stressful that I thought, okay, well, what if I just think about it differently? I sat on the couch and was like, I'm the problem. It's my behaviors that are the problem. I need to unlearn.
That's because they're feeding that.
Yeah, totally.
They're planting that seed in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to really make loud and clear is it does not matter how you were raised, how much therapy you have done, how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
If you found yourself in a manipulative relationship or started dating a charming, love bombing guy that suddenly flipped to a gaslighting asshole where you don't feel safe to use your voice or you don't know how you got into what you did, you are not dumb and you are not weak and you can get out. And this can happen to anyone. Just know that you are not alone.
I've seen other women come to the internet to share their story and they're established professional women and people are like, that I can't believe you blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no,
I can.
It's a more sad predicament to find yourself in than you could ever imagine. It almost provides a sense of peace though. For me, when I saw an older established in career mother talk about being in that situation, I'm like, oh, you're amazing. How did that happen? I had that too. I mean, it's an internal misogyny that we all have to not believe a victim, but it also softens, I think, how hard on yourself you are when you're in that situation to be like, it's not just me.
It's not just you.
Yeah.
You repeated, I'm not happy, I need to leave in your head for months before you ever said it out loud. What finally made you say it?
I had so much anxiety that I felt like I was holding my breath forever, and it was just like, I have to be in Victoria. I have to go be near my sister, be near my support person. I was just alone all the time. And I was like, you know what? I need to go to my sister's. My sister had a 25-year-old Kiwi boyfriend. They had a 1-bedroom apartment in Victoria, and I would go to their house and we would all take turns bouncing my colicky baby. They were instrumental in my survival of motherhood.
So nice.
I think I just reached a threshold with it. I'm not a confrontational person, and that relationship for me was so much like dialogue in my head, performing, practicing how to say it, practicing all the 3 different outcomes I thought he could have every time, different outcome than I anticipated.
Completely unpredictable.
Yeah. I wish that I just left a lot earlier. I didn't feel like I could get in the car and leave with my kid. I felt like the shared genetics of our child and living under the same roof and me disrupting that to change anything was like some kind of injustice I wasn't allowed to do. So I felt like I couldn't leave because we shared this baby, because I wanted to be fully sure and ready. And then the power that I have as a single mom, like that I gained as a single mom, was like, I would never let anybody treat me that way or act that way anywhere near my kids now. I tread with so much caution. Curtis and Bloom didn't meet for months, and I wasn't trying to merge families. Even when I started dating, I wasn't really trying to look for anything new. I wanted it to be separate, but I also really wanted to just be in control.
You found out you were pregnant at 22 in a city where you knew nobody.
Yes.
Port Alberni. What happened inside you when you found out you were pregnant?
I immediately tried to picture who that baby could be and how I would change my role from a motherless child into a mother. That was a very formative journey for me.
And that was important to you.
Yep. And so pretty quickly I felt maternal, but it was important to me to choose. Politically, it is important that you get to choose. I think I said this to you the other day. Parenting is political.
Parenting is political.
Because I very much so feel like I chose both my children. I chose both those pregnancies. I chose to keep nurturing and growing life in my body. And that's important to me, that I chose Bloom, and I feel like he picked me. There is no version of my world in my head even where Bloom and my mom exist at the same time, because I think I was looking for family. I was looking to change my role, to become a mom. That was so significant to me and such a gift. And it's important to me that women get to choose. But I had 2 hyperemesis pregnancies and was extremely sick. Growing a child is the hardest thing that my body has ever done. Politics come in. People need to choose that. They need to be like, this is for me. Whereas women's rights that are being revoked in the States, no one should be forced to carry. Absolutely not. And it's not a small thing. Pregnancy has been the single-handed hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, it's my greatest fear.
It's going to be so fun. I love it.
I know. It's a blessing.
But
I'm definitely holy shit.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing everything that you have so far. It takes a lot of courage to say out loud. You suffered through hyperemesis. Give me a little snippet of what that's like.
Yeah. So morning sickness, obviously everybody knows that it's not just morning time anymore, but hyperemesis is just that level up, which is essentially a vomiting disorder. So with my pregnancy with Bloom, I would go through these spirals of vomiting so hard, getting so dehydrated, getting a migraine. The migraine's making you more nauseous, puking, but puke. It was just the most disgusting, depressing, overwhelming, dark time. I think too, with my first pregnancy, you don't know how to advocate for yourself. People are like, oh yeah, pregnancy's hard. You'll throw up, and you're telling your midwife, I'm losing weight. I'm not keeping anything down. And I'm asking for help in ways that I'm so desperate. And I would wait in triage in the emergency room in COVID, barfing on a bench, waiting for my turn. So I was getting fluids once a week for a while. But yeah, it's brutal.
You said birth was the first time that you were ever really grateful for your body.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Pregnancy, in a big picture way. And as a woman that grew up, in the early 2000s, I had Tumblr. There is such a lack of appreciation for what we have. And so I've had an able body that I have just been at odds with my whole life.
As a woman.
But being pregnant and then giving birth was like the first pause. Your body's viewed as something beautiful and it doesn't need to change. It was the first time I got to just reframe the function of my body and be very grateful. So I want to tell young girls that like you'll feel different about your body when you're older, but like you don't need to have a baby to do that. But for me, that's what came first, you know? And
I think that's a relatable thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I still don't have the answer, but I also have a deep appreciation. I pushed for 3 hours with Bloom and I was like falling asleep in between, but I was like telling myself that I could keep going. And the stark contrast of how I used to like work out as a teenager was like, you're such a useless piece of shit, like keep running. I hope I can say that on your podcast. And now I'm like, you're a magical unicorn, you can do it, keep going,
you're a beautiful fairy.
The contrast is so stark because I never had a pause to appreciate it, and then I did, and now I'm like, oh my god, okay, let's work with my body instead of work against it, which is obviously easier said than done. But yeah,
Bloom is born. You were breastfeeding. You had no income or support. You couldn't work because you had Bloom alone for 6 weeks at a time. Yeah. Can you help people understand what that financial trap actually feels like?
So homeownership was not something that I was looking for at 22. And I think too, a lot of people get hung up on, well, she wanted to be a mom, so she gave it up. And it's like, yes, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I was the birth parent. So I was postpartum and pregnant and recovering, all that stuff. While I sacrificed my ability to earn money, I moved to Victoria. I moved in with my dad, who, it's a spectrum, but he is a hoarder. So I had a room and an 8-month-old baby, and that majority of the caregiving was on my shoulders. And I felt like I just stayed in a room and was overwhelmed. My dad had a suite in his basement, and his tenants moved out, and I moved in. I paid $1,800 a month to live in the basement.
How did you afford it?
I didn't. And I had like CERB at the beginning. So I just gave all of that for rent. Did my best. I think I was in a scenario too where I felt so humiliated to not have an income and so humiliated to have been in the predicament that I was in, like having a baby young and being in that dynamic and having bought a house, but somehow like not getting any of the money from it. I was so embarrassed. So I lived in my dad's house and I was okay because when I was like, hey, I don't have any money, I can't pay you rent, I was so safe and supported by my dad in that super logistical way. That like was the difference. God. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know how to talk about the fact that like I then didn't have enough money in my bank account to buy groceries or gas, and I didn't really know where to put that. I don't know what your question was, but it wasn't good.
I just feel for you. I feel for that version of you.
Yeah.
And I just want women to know that like this is probably a more common thing.
Yeah.
And it happens, and there's so much shame and losing your voice and not being able to speak up, but that's why it's so important that we're having this conversation.
Yeah. People have reached out and been like, I need to leave this relationship. Is there any advice you have for me? Because we need that. And I'm so shit at my Instagram messages, but I have had women reach out and I'm like, you have to talk to them. You have to respond. You have to give them like these pieces of advice and like tell them it's going to be okay, because it could be their first step that they're reaching out to you. There was a lot of gray area in my split because we didn't live in the same city. So already it felt like we were just having to figure out some kind of schedule and some kind of reality that was different from anyone I could look to for advice. What I would like people to know is that under 2, if you're the primary caregiver, you don't have to split 50-50. It's actually still what's best for the child. I would advise anybody though to get actual legal advice. You need somebody telling you what your rights are. I am really proud of myself to this day about how I've navigated some stuff, but we both know that we love this child so much. And that has been huge for me to remember that, and it helps because it's real.
Of course.
Yeah.
I wrote this down. Florence, I just have to thank you for being so brave by sharing this part of your story and all parts of your story. I understand how complicated and hard it can be to use your voice, particularly in a situation like this. You are such an inspiration for women and for mothers and single mothers. I think it's really important that they know that they can start over and that there is a way forward. So thank you so much for standing up for that. I want to ask you some things on behalf of women who are listening right now, because some of them are inside something that they can't name yet. Some of them are somewhere in between. So I want to ask you some direct things. The isolation is so gradual. What are the early signs that someone is separating you from your people?
I would say picking fights before special events, birthdays, when you go to hang out with somebody, if they're texting you, making you feel stressed out, like you can't be fully present. And same with family members as well. They're strategically driving the wedge, and the wedge is getting bigger. And socially as well, you're so anxious, you stop being yourself. In my relationship now, I'm like, you do the things that make you feel amazing. Let me figure out how we can make time for that. And he does the exact same for me. So it's
so healthy.
But I don't feel guilty and
Hell
I don't
no.
feel stressed. It's like just an entirely energetic.
Healthier.
Yeah.
What do you say to women who still loves them, who knows it's bad, she knows, but she's still waiting for the person that she met at the beginning to come back?
That person is not real. That is my advice. You know, the anticipation of who somebody is when you meet them, when you're dating, is like not real. And it's bigger. All of these things, it's more. And it's not real.
I mean, it's just ingrained in your mind because they're like mirroring and then they like suck you in.
You think they're phenomenal and you think they think you are special and that they've somehow listened and understood better than anybody ever has before.
As fast as they build you up, they take you down.
And the sad thing too is like, I think maybe for a broken man, like that's what he would like to be, but they don't have the self-reflection that women do, I feel. And even if it's something he wanted, it wasn't real. I think you have to be honest with yourself of how you feel. If you feel anxious every day, if you're not able to enjoy the present at all, especially if you have little kids, like you want to enjoy when they're little. If you're not able to be present and enjoy because you're waiting for them to change, it's not real. You need to look out for yourself and self-actualize and change the dialogue in your head. Like you have so much power to shift your mindset to change how your day goes, but like only if you have good mental health, only if you have support and everything.
I also kept a note in my notes app. I would like keep track of the reality and that I could go back to. Because, you know, you have your memory and your memory is strong, but it's like, no, this is what's happening last month, 6 months ago, this month. And then you look at that and you're like, holy shit.
It's all bad.
It's all bad.
It's really bad.
So that helps too.
Read your journal like a sad book. And you're like, oh, this girl's sad.
She's so sad.
She's so sad.
How do you trust your own judgment again? Because I think one of the long-lasting effects is that you stop trusting yourself.
Yeah. I think for me, I've felt a lot like I'm playing at a game that's not mine in life. Like school, I have to present as this person. Work, I have to present as this person, all that. I found so much comfort and confidence in being a mom. I feel like my connection to my intuition, I actually gave it space to be heard from myself. But there's a retroactive thing where as a parent, I was like, no, I need to take care of myself. I need to create an idea of what our future can look like for my kid. And then you're also taking care of yourself. You're also checking in with you. Okay, how can I do this? I feel like confidence and my sense of self developed after being a mom because it was the first time I just paused to like, who can I be? How can I be this? You start to make decisions long enough that you realize you have a bit more control. It's going to be gradual at first. When I left that relationship, I actually felt like I had to rekindle all of the relationships in my life that I had lost. And not all of them were set up to be good relationships for me to have as a single mom anymore. I obviously felt really misunderstood, but I started to find community. Like I found some amazing mom friends, other women that had gone through similar experiences, and just started to soften a little bit towards myself. Because you have to let your guard down in order to trust yourself. And then I just started doing small things for me. And it builds. Yeah.
That's great. What do you do with the anger?
I don't know.
I think a lot of women are told to
anyone
forgive,
has any tips,
to move on, to not let it consume them. But the anger is real.
The anger's real. I have less anger now. It's softened over time. For me, at least, movement was massive. Movement has been a lifeline for me. I think when my mom was sick was the first time I realized the power of moving my body. Somebody told me when a deer is hunted, they have to stop after and just shake off like the trauma, essentially, having just fled for their life. And so I'm like, okay, I need to move my physical body to shed some of it because it's more than you can carry.
For sure.
So running for me was massive after Bloom every day without fail. 5 kilometers in the Thule stroller.
So cool.
Let's go. And then I just started pushing myself for distance running. And
Yeah,
that
you're
was
badass.
really, really helpful to me. But yeah, honestly, the gym. I love moving my
Flex.
body.
So good. For a woman who's pregnant right now inside a situation, what do you want her to know?
Oh my gosh. I want her to know that leaving before is easier. It feels harder once the baby's out. I also feel like there's just this amazing gift of being a mom that is like strength you didn't know you needed, and it's within you. And that desire to protect your child is fierce, and you have more energy, more strength than you could ever imagine. Like you could just continue on. You want something done, like ask a mom.
Yeah.
You dig deep and you can push through. And I think laying it out for yourself, like you said, journaling, to really have a grasp on reality. Look to your birth support team, like tell them, look to other parents, other moms that have been single moms, and you will get advice that will change the course of your journey.
Use your voice.
Look to people who have done it before, because they will look you in the eyes and be like, it's worth it. The other side is better. I fucking swear it's going to be better.
Yeah.
Like you can leave and it will be better on the other side, and it will be ugly and exhausting during. That's just the reality of it. But there is definitely hope.
Most definitely. You're evidence of that. What's the most important thing you had to unlearn about yourself in order to rebuild?
I think I have had to unlearn labels that have been put on me. Being open-minded enough to know that you can just like shed pieces of your identity is a huge gift. The unlearning is like that you have control. Being in that scenario, you really feel like you don't have control over your own life. And I think anybody, for whatever reason that's been in that scenario, you feel hopeless, but you can also work within yourself to change how you think about the future.
You built something beautiful. You found safe love. You are an incredible example. I want to talk about motherhood because you've had a very non-traditional path in motherhood. What do people not understand about becoming a mom in those circumstances?
When I was alone and had Bloom, there were times where I felt like I never wanted to date again, and that we would do the non-traditional route and I would almost lean in more. Just never merge dating with Bloom, maybe just have one child and be done and keep my dating life separate because I knew I was going to be sharing parenting time. I do feel like there is generation to generation. Obviously, so much change happens. My parents split when I was younger, but I'm looking at Bloom going, your peers have modern families. Your peers have family dynamics that are different. They have step parents, single parents. It can look however it needs to look. But I also found comfort in feeling like there would be more of my child's peers that had scenarios that weren't just like nuclear family. And I've heard kids come over for play dates and ask Bloom like where his dad is and kind of be a little bit confused, but his answers are so direct. He's like, oh no, like my dad lives in Port Alberni and I have a stepdad. You know who my brother's dad is? Like, it's Curtis. I hear him say it with such confidence because it's his reality, but it can look different. When you're pregnant, it feels very, very hormonal to stay intact with
and want the idea of what you think.
And you feel like that baby deserves it too. And I think advice I have is like, you don't have to be that. You can be an untraditional family, being a mom that chooses herself, being a mom that chooses her baby. Contentment is a phenomenal thing to do. Your child seeing you happy is amazing. And I think I learned that from my mom too. I saw her giggle in her relationship.
Yeah, I wish I saw my mom happier.
Yeah, and I think that it just softens everything for her. So it changes. Your idea of family changes. Yeah. You're a family with just your one kid too.
Yeah. Did you ever grieve the version of motherhood you thought you'd have?
I entered into motherhood so unconventionally for what in terms of like, I really, really thought that I would date, get married, get a house, have a baby, maybe get a dog. That's really the trajectory that I pictured it my whole life. When I got pregnant, I was like, okay, well, this is it now. The red carpet's rolled out for you. Now you walk this path and you don't get to do anything else. And then I was just like, oh, we're clearly going to do this differently, because when I was pregnant, between me and my child was just magic. Loved being a mom so much.
Yeah. What did becoming a mom give you that nothing else could?
The sense of purpose for me, massive. Like, it was such a shift from just taking care of myself, feeling I needed to value myself enough to choose the path forward and to become this person professionally and this person as a friend and this person visually. I really, really, really love that out of body thing. And I think maybe something too is like having ADHD, I always live in my head. So motherhood for me has been this draw from my head into this physical person in front of me. I can be present with in the room for the first time ever.
That's
that
cool.
Really felt like the first time I got to just sit and be present, which is amazing. And
That's
again,
important.
with Lucky, the draw from the noise in my head just to like being present physically was everything.
Are there moments where you feel your mom in you when you're parenting?
When I call my kids a spoiled brat, the energy of the home is where I feel I get to embody her the most. Like I said earlier, I don't have a lot of tangible understanding of who she was as a person with the lens of being an adult. I just know how she made me feel as a child. That's my truth. She made me feel comfortable. She made me feel like if I crawled up into her lap, she'd stroke my hair, tell me everything's going to be okay, but also was really goofy. She became a single mom. I saw her pick up silversmithing. I saw her go on dates. I saw her choose herself. And I think that's where I'm trying to then emulate her. Like, she was the youngest of 4. I'm the eldest daughter. I'm like, how can I be more like a younger sibling, say what I want in life and all that kind of stuff? She guides me in those ways of like wanting to provide that feeling for my kids.
One thing I want to highlight, because when you said it to me, I just really felt it. You said my privilege is so inherent to me in giving birth. I knew exactly who I was, the immense privilege I have for the medical care that I received. Scary moments in birth, overarching feeling for you was gratitude for where you ended up and receiving the help giving birth.
Yeah.
Did you want to touch on that?
Absolutely. Both times that I've given birth have been, actually Julie said this in her podcast, the closest I've ever been to death, like that feeling. Giving birth is incredible. Truly. I mean, you look at a baby and a body and you're like, well, you're inside and then you have to come outside.
I look at my vagina and I'm like, I physically don't know how this is going to happen.
And I've done it. I still don't know how that happens. Yeah. You can't look at a regular vagina. It's 2 different things. But you go to a different place to give birth and you walk that line. Birth is so almost traumatizing at every second, even if it's all going smoothly. It can be incredibly scary and it is painful. Don't get scared. So you just are looking to other people for help. And both times I've had failed home births. So I've gone from trying to deliver a baby in the bathtub in a living room to being like, oh, I need help. With Bloom, it was just meconium in the water. So we just had to go to the hospital. And I still had the natural childbirth. But I still walked the line between begging for help in moments before he came and feeling afraid. Ultimately looking around the room and being like, okay, I'm safe. I have support. These women, these nurses, the midwives, they are here for me, which obviously in itself is because I'm so privileged. Like living in Canada, we have free medical care. The midwives and everyone were supporting me. And that also has to do with being white. The location that I was in meant that all the women in the room that were nurses and doctors were there to support me. But you look to help because you are scared. Then with Lucky's birth, I required more help. He got stuck. I was trying to push him out in the bathtub at our Airbnb. And our midwife had said to Curtis, like, you're going to meet your baby soon. It was happening. And then something was wrong. And tying back into intuition, I know something's wrong. I could feel that his head was not dropping. And I looked at my midwife and I was like, I need help. And so then we called 911. We had support, privilege of a whole fire truck of men, a whole ambulance of men, all coming into the little cabin, and I'm just on all fours. And I had all these support systems like around me. And I was scared and uncomfortable and in pain, but it wasn't lost on me that I got to choose to try a home birth. So I didn't feel any injustice or fear around that. I knew that a realistic version of birth was asking for help. I got in the ambulance, I was taken care of. We go to the hospital. I have so much support around me, and ultimately Lucky, it was a true CPE, which means that his head was too big to come out of my body. I don't take well to the anesthesia, so I had multiple failed epidurals and then ended up getting a full spinal tap that flooded. So I was like in and out of consciousness, couldn't move my whole body, couldn't talk, which was really weird. That is truly the most scary health thing I've ever gone through was giving birth to Lucky. But I looked around the room and was like, I needed help. I got help. I have amazing people. They put on Nora Jones for me. Everybody was like telling me that I was going to be okay. Curtis was there. Lucky and I both required medical attention after his birth. And at that time was May 2025. Yeah. And I knew leading up to it, I could see on the news that women in Palestine were giving birth in hospitals that were actively being bombed while they were giving birth. They probably didn't have access to any pain medication, and their babies were being born into war. I felt it in my body that I was so lucky to have all the help that I had. Yeah. And we were driving home from the hospital with Lucky after we'd been in there a few days, and Curtis was like, crazy, man, you would have died years ago. And I was like, I know. He's like, yeah, you and the baby both would be dead. Yeah.
It's a reality.
It's so obvious how privileged I am. But I do think that the older that I get and the more grounded I feel in that privilege, the more I can acknowledge it when bad things are happening to me.
And tap in.
Yeah.
I want to get into one for Blue. Something that I think is so cool about your story, especially after everything that you've been through, is how you've taken this chapter and you've turned it into something of your own, like building your business. One for Blue, your children's line, creating pieces by hand and doing it while being a mom. It's such a full circle moment. When did sewing first come into your life? Was it something you've always had in you?
My mom's side of the family were all amazing artists. All the women quilted, sewed, knit. Like things that I still cannot even wrap my head around. My mom would make Maggie and I pajamas and do little sewing projects. When we were toddlers, she made us and all of our friends little towel hoods with ears. Right after I had Bloom was like my first business idea was to do these towel ponchos for little kids. And I thought adults maybe too. Before I started sewing as an adult and like teaching myself on the school of YouTube in grade 4 or something, I did a quilting course with my mom.
Yeah.
That was it. Really. But like I saw how the machine worked. I made like a pair of boxers in high school once. Cool. And then I started working for a friend's brand in Victoria called Bees and Bones, doing graphic design and photography. And then I started cutting out stuff for her on the side. So I could see how the business side worked my whole life. I love clothes. I'll tell you what my sister and I were wearing when we were doing XYZ when we were little. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, and my shoes were this and my shirt was this.
You just remember it all.
Yeah. I would make shoes as a kid out of tape and foam, like platforms, all of it.
Wow.
Doing things by hand and making things. I've always known that the thing that feeds my soul is when I make something and I hold it, I'm like, this is being alive.
Yeah, I love your TikTok crafts.
Love crafts. Literally love crafts.
Your face is lighting up.
I know. Like, oh, finally, I don't have to talk about my trauma. I just talk about crafts.
Thank God we got there.
I think like the internet is obviously the most amazing gift of this generation because I'm like, I have taught myself so many crazy things.
Yeah, you
from
really have.
YouTube. I've touched on this before, but I think everybody that's postpartum should choose a new skill and or craft to focus on. And after I had Bloom, I watched YouTubes of people sewing and conceptualized the shapes of clothing. And like, you have to make things inside out and then flip them this way. Like, I really wanted to wrap my head around the entire what it was that I was trying to do, what the skill would be. I just spent so much time watching YouTube while I breastfed. I wasn't necessarily doing the thing, but I was learning.
Taking it in.
And then when I did have time, I could just hit the ground running and do whatever. So I think I made masks for all of the staff at Nemo Bay during the pandemic.
Cute.
And then from there kind of just started into making kids clothes. And with that little seed of like wanting to do the towel poncho business, I was like, oh, maybe I could do it this. And I had a lot of fun dressing Bloom. I don't necessarily want to be production in my business. I have goals of being able to like focus on marketing and visuals and like the whole, I want to tell the story. I really want to build worlds in my business. That's my goal. I will learn how to be production to open that door to establish like my name a little bit and show my energy. But I would eventually love to move into getting things manufactured and grow the brand that way. I feel like I'm starting from scratch a little bit. I did work for myself
feeling.
Between children. Yeah, we talked about it. You taking a break from the podcast.
You are totally established.
Yeah.
In this
but
way.
I don't, yeah.
Like you sold everything out when you made it. You flew.
But I sit here and I'm like, there's all these people that are waiting.
But like, how sick.
They're waiting.
That's
They're
amazing.
disappointed.
No, I know.
You know?
I know what you mean.
But I do think it's funny. I love making my own clothes. I don't love batch sewing. I love natural fibers, really intentional silhouettes and designs, clothing that can take you through different bodies of your own. Natural fibers last for a long time. So how do you make clothes for kids that they can have for 2 years? You make them a little bigger, you make them adjustable, all of this stuff. I have this goal that is bigger, I think, than the place that I'm in right now. But that's okay. The community that there is attached to kids' clothes is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's all other parents. They're like, oh, you're sewing at night after your kid goes to bed. I have a version of working hard after my kid goes to bed, and I see you. My customer base is a beautiful community of people.
Yes.
I have had people tell me that they're pregnant before they're telling anybody. And then I get to be so excited for them, and it feels like this little community. Yeah. And then it's not necessarily for parents, because I'd like to do more adult stuff, but the people that I have met since doing the business have made me feel like I can come back to it now after pausing for my pregnancy, and that there's people waiting and cheering me on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. What's been the most surprising part about running your business?
I think for me, the most surprising part has been how fulfilling it has been. I am willing to work crazy hard hours and push myself in ways that are only possible because I'm trying to build it for myself and for my family. This is my job. I want it to be my job that supports my family, where I get to be then present with my kids. It's kind of been cool to see Bloom at 5 now talk about One for Blue, and he has all these ideas and he's interested in it. We're building this thing. Like, we can go to markets.
It's ours.
Yeah, it's ours. And so I think the biggest surprise has just been how much I want it, how much I'm willing to put myself out there for something that I want, even if it's scary. Like, I'm scared to fail. But that's
so scared to
okay.
fail, but it's such a big part of trying to build something for yourself that really matters to you.
It is, and it's so vulnerable. Like, I want my kids to know that I can try really hard at something and fail, and it's going to be okay. I want myself to know that too, you know, like, oh God.
Yeah.
The way that I have been disciplined in pushing myself to go after my dreams has been the biggest shock.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Did One for Blue change the way you see your own capability or competence?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was a hard part of getting pregnant with Lucky. I felt like I had created an identity attached to my business, attached to single motherhood. I felt like I was abandoning this thing that really, really helped me be confident in the world and myself.
That is such a specific thing. Okay, you've built this thing that means more to you than anything.
Yeah.
And then life happens.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to not feel so much guilt and pressure and like all these hard feelings on yourself to keep it going.
Yeah. And we're so hard on ourselves. I went through quite the transformation being pregnant with Lucky. I got this opportunity to do it over. And I was so excited. Curtis was so excited. Part of me thought I had hyperemesis when I was pregnant with Bloom because of my circumstance.
Yeah.
Turns out I couldn't mentally not get hyperemesis again the second time. But with that came this feeling of no control over losing my business because I was bedbound. I had muscle atrophy that hurt. I went from working out every day, working, parenting, being super involved, to being bedbound, and it felt like I was just letting people down and that the dream of my brand was leaving. So partly being on this podcast and then relaunching One for Blue again in the next few months has been this nice opportunity to start again. I realize,
you can start again.
And everybody's still there. And that community that I thought was so welcoming the first time round is still there. And they're still welcoming. And turns out it's kids' clothes. Well, the world's not going to end. Worst case scenario, you know, someone doesn't get a pair of pants. They're going to be okay. It's like, okay. I'm trying to just be methodical about how I get back into it, but it's been positive.
That's great. Your kids get to see you creating. What's that like for you?
It's so fun. I have recently started sewing with Bloom. It's so cute, so annoying to teach a 5-year-old how to sew, but it is so cute. He thinks that we can make anything. And
That's
like
so
between his stepdad and I, like we can make a lot of things. All the wood and the cloth, we could probably figure it out. But he wants to make stuff. He creates ideas for clothes. He's like, I want this with this. And then I make it. And he's like, yeah. And on a play date, he's like, my mom can make anything. I'm like, wow. It's so cool.
So cool.
Yeah. Lucky, we don't know.
Yeah, he's fresh.
We don't know, but Bloom is a creative.
What are you looking forward to this season with your business?
I am really, really looking forward to the community aspect. I've been introverted a lot in my motherhood journey, as I think a lot of moms are. I'm looking forward to doing community events, to having kids' clothes out, seeing families, and just like talking because there's so much to connect over. And maybe it's just a pair of pants, but I've also met amazing friends through the business. And then I'm just excited to see where it takes me. I feel like I've shut the door on having babies. I think we're done. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but then at the end of the day, physically, my body, I'm done. And so I think with the horizon having less sleep deprivation and more autonomy to do the work stuff, I feel excited to see where it will go and see where I can go with it. The older that I get, the more I'm like, you can do anything. You want to get it manufactured? I used to feel like, well, I don't have the right supports. I don't know the right things. Well, you could learn. You could learn. And then I want to take everything I've learned and give it to everybody around me because that's how we do it.
Such a good mindset to have. I want to get into this second chance of your happy story. Love and creating a family. It's such a beautiful part of my title here. It says love after trauma.
And we're in my new house.
A beautiful new home. So how did you meet your current man and how did he react when you told him you have a kid?
I had a very lucky, positive experience with this. I will say, I don't know if it's always going to be like this, but we met on Tinder. Yeah. And I did not advertise that I had a child, obviously. I wasn't necessarily looking to start dating or anything. I mean, part of recovering from a relationship like that, you're like, hey, there's other people out there that you could date. So I was at that phase of the journey. I wanted to just look, wasn't responding to anybody,
No
whatever.
touch, just look.
Yeah. And Curtis was so cute in his profile. I remember seeing him in a little sunflower hat, sitting on the beach in Mexico, in touch with his feminine side. And he just looked so cute and fun. He was so handsome. He had been in Victoria or something, which is why we had matched. We basically lived far enough away that like the kid thing came up because I was like, well, I have to go to Tofino sometimes because I share parenting time. So we had our first date at Wiccaninish and I really just was looking to distract myself. So I was like, okay, I am going to work my ass off every second that I don't have my kid. And then before I pick him up, I'm going to go see this boy on a first date. And we had a few dates like that and started seeing each other. And I was like, he's so cute. I like him. I remember being like, oh, I don't really want to do this thing. So we had it separate. Was going to a whole other city to date somebody. And they hadn't met my kid. And I didn't have to meld those worlds at all. And then we went into the summer season and Bloom's dad worked away. And I remember Curtis asking, so like, when can I meet your kid? And I was surprised. I was the first mom that he had dated, but we're both doing something we don't really know how to navigate. Like, how do you do it appropriately? I was coming out of a stressful relationship, so I had a lot of trauma there and a lot of guilt that I battled with for a long time. Kind of as I came into my own a bit more and had a lot of time alone too, like parenting time. Curtis and Bloom met because I was just alone for weeks and weeks. If you want to have a date with that person, okay, well then we have to do that. So we went to Long Beach all together and just threw sticks in the ocean for Curtis's dog. And it got to just be like a really low pressure thing. And I think for a while it was just
low pressure.
Yeah, low pressure. I got to come out to Ucluelet and go to mom's night at the ANAF, my first night out after having a baby. And I got to just come have like this other life. I felt like we were going to like house parties or going out and having fun. And it felt like this piece of life that I didn't get to do. When I started dating Curtis, I had a fleeting moment of just my 20s.
Bliss.
Yeah, and it was hard walking around town and meeting people and not having Bloom with me because that was my whole identity and people didn't know. But I think it also was good for me. Just go
be your own person.
Go be yourself. I would go surfing. I would go to the beach and meet up with friends from Tofino. It felt like I could do things for myself for the first time. And from there, it just kind of became a little bit more than just going to see someone. And we started doing camping trips and all that. And Curtis wants kids. He's an uncle. He has 2 nieces and a nephew. That to him was important. He was like, oh, I know that the next chapter of my life, I would love to be a dad.
Wow.
You know, I don't know how to be. I don't know how to be a stepdad, but he knew he wanted to be a dad. And so we did get to talk about being parents together in a really intentional way because I'd already had a baby. So we were like, okay, well, I knew I wanted to have another baby. I would have loved to have had 2 babies under 5. I knew that going into it. Our kids are 4.5 years apart. I found out I was pregnant a week after I moved to Clulet.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
Oh my God. Can you tell the pee story?
Yes. Okay.
I love that story.
Yeah. Okay. So I had just moved up here.
Yeah.
I randomly stopped taking my ADHD medication. I moved mostly by myself into a huge ass van from Victoria all the way up here, pregnant, because I didn't know. But I remember being like, I am fucking exhausted.
And you weren't taking them. And he was like, why aren't you taking them?
And Curtis goes, why wouldn't you take them at a time like this? Like any other time, take a break. And then I remember being annoyed. I was like, Curtis, like you don't get it. I just feel weird.
I'm just a girl.
And I had peed on a stick a few days before and it was negative. So I was like, that's so weird. So I go into the bathroom and Bloom's having his bath. Curtis goes into the garage to work on something. And I'm like, maybe I'll just pee on the stick again. Pee on the stick. And then I'm just looking at it. And immediately, there's 2 dark lines. And I'm like, and there is this inexplicably long pause when you look at a pregnancy test that's positive, because you're just like,
I mean, I've never seen one on my own.
It is a long pause. And you just go with like all the future flashes and you're like, oh my God. And it's like the strangest scenario, you know, you're like stressed with a car seat or something, like you're like, oh God. Just looked at it and then I looked at Bloom and I was like, I'm pregnant. He just like kept playing. Don't know what you're talking about. So I sit down on the bathroom floor, text Curtis, I'm like, come upstairs right now. You know, we're like annoyed at each other. Goes upstairs and I'm sitting on the bathroom floor just pointing on the counter. And immediately he's just like elated. He picks it up. He's like, no way. And just picks me up off the bathroom floor and is so happy. We're just embracing. I'm pretty in shock. I'd had a few minutes extra where I'm like, oh no. Mostly like to do with the person that has to be pregnant. Like it would be so fun to find out you're going to have a baby if
you were
you didn't have to grow it. Yeah. You know, it's a privilege to get pregnant.
Yeah.
But for me, the pregnancy piece was so hard that instantly I went there. But he was so excited. And that I think will be a highlight of my life till the day I die. Because I mean, it's such a seismic life shift, but for your partner to be so excited for you and to do the family thing, that made everything feel like, okay, at least I know it's going to be okay. It's like, okay, well then I'll blow it all up and I'll leave and I'll do it all alone, you know?
Oh yeah, girl, I know.
Yeah. Like I've been a single mom before.
Yeah.
I can fucking do it.
Watch me.
And then it actually turns out everything's easier when he's around. And that's not something that I thought
So true.
would happen. Like I really felt this sense of relief and peace being a single mom and was like, oh, I actually want to do this alone forever. I don't want to give any more space to somebody to come in and change the attitude of my home or my journey. And I can do hard things. I can carry heavy, heavy bags and a baby and not ask for help. But it turns out having help's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. What else do I have? Yeah, you said that you still catch your nervous system expected.
It's the first time in my life I feel my age. I think it feels like there's space for me to have goals for the future that just pertain to my business, that just pertain to my like fitness, that just pertain to my mental health. Like that's valuable and I want to cheer him on in what he wants in life, and then together we'll cheer our kids on. Watching your baby grow up and learn new skills alongside someone that you love is so special. We could just watch Lucky learn how to stand up or learn how to eat food for the rest of our days in silence, looking at him, and it's shared. And so I think part of it with the tumultuous relationships I had when I was younger and the trauma bonding, I thought love had to be with somebody that was equally as traumatized as me. Turns out you don't have to. And that love can be calm and consistent. It doesn't need to be special.
I'm just so happy that you've gotten this experience.
Yeah.
Because you really deserve it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Obviously, it's not like all sunshine and
Oh,
rainbows
of course
all the
not.
time,
Come
but
on.
it's like a real life. We're two honest people. We're not ever
Sugarcoating
pretending
it.
that we have a perfect life to anybody, but that feels really good
I
too.
love that. Have you had a moment where you looked at your life and reflected on just how far you've come?
I really feel like I'm living out the best days of my life right now, which is really special. I have this deep sense of knowing that this is the time that I will always visit. If I were, to die tomorrow, like I'm at my peak. I don't have everything I want in my career.
And you don't have to.
I don't have everything I want in most avenues of life, but I think losing a parent when I did, and my dad being sick and things happening in our community, like it is not lost on me that this is the time that I will cherish forever. And I think that it means so much to me.
Flo, don't make me cry. Stop. If you could sit down with your younger self, what do you think that she'd be most proud of in your life today?
I definitely my kids.
Of course.
Definitely my kids and my wardrobe. I say that I have a collection of clothing.
Oh my God, can I see it later?
Of course, because I live in a small town and I'm a mom. Like my crazy boots, my dragon platform shoes from when I was 19, like
Collector.
we're not wearing them anywhere in town.
But we keep them.
But I have this collection. Anyway, so my little self, she would love the closet, but she, I think, would be relaxed in my home. And that is the thing that I'm most proud of is, having a safe space.
What does it feel like to take up space when you've spent so many years taking care of others and feeling small?
It feels hard. It feels unfamiliar and it feels inauthentic. It feels like at any moment I could just abandon that and just
Go back,
live for others. I feel this symbolic sense of coming out of that postpartum phase from Lucky and the idea that I won't be pregnant again. I'm like, okay, then I can build and build and build emotional resilience. I can build like intelligence. I can build all of these things again. And that the trajectory can be like positive and of growth.
If you could sit down with your mom for one more conversation, what would you want to say to her?
I think I want her to know that we're okay. My sister and I are okay. And that in having each other, we're not alone in this world. That Maggie is an amazing individual, that she emulates every quality that my mom would have shown my children. She is that. I call her Auntie Grandma Kiki.
Everything.
And that opportunity for her to mother me through postpartum showed me so much of what my mom gave us as kids. So I would want her to know that we're okay, that we love each other still, and that her essence is still here. I would pull her to the side and congratulate her on just being such a powerhouse in how she navigated her separation with my dad and how she upheld a standard of how she talked about the other parent in front of us at a time when, like, I read the journals. It was really, really hard. She was in a really hard place. So as an adult, I want to give her that nod. Would tell her that I miss her so much, that every rainbow that my kids see, we say Grandma Marion sent it. And I didn't know that I would associate anything like that physically on earth with her. And not believing in heaven means I don't really know what to tell my little kids when she's not around. But it's been cute to have the rainbows show up. I told Bloom on a whim that Grandma Marion's thinking of us, like, here's a rainbow. And now I always, associate that, and Bloom will be like, look, Grandma Marion. And that means so much to me. Like, I would want her to know that we talk about her in my home. Her ashes are on the mantle there.
Wow.
I would want her to know that we're okay, because I think that was her biggest fear.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I love everything you just said. I think we've done it. You know what's crazy?
What?
My grandmother's name is Marion.
Really?
And I had a horse named Lucky.
And you're Marnie.
And I'm Marnie.
That's so cute.
Yeah, but my grandmother's name was Marion.
That's so cute.
And Lucky was like such a beautiful, special creature in my life.
Aww.
And I love that you named your son Lucky.
So a fun backstory with his name is that Bloom actually named him. So Bloom pitched the idea to me. I told Curtis. Curtis was like, yeah, I like that. And we both were like, oh yeah, we like that. And then after we'd kind of solidified it, no, it's Lucky the Ducky. So then he tells every single person in town, there's a baby in my mom's belly and his name's Lucky the Ducky. And Bloom tells everybody that he named his brother, which is so cute. Oh my goodness. And a valuable thing of my life is the bond that my kids have is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like, a bigger age gap is so beautiful in these two. Bloom is so caring and so obsessed with his little brother, and nobody makes Lucky laugh the way Bloom does. They FaceTime each other. Oh,
Very special bond.
yeah.
How can people support you?
Oh my goodness. I would say best place to find me is at One for Blue on Instagram, and then oneforblue.com.
When are you relaunching?
I am dropping on Mother's Day. I'm doing my first drop back Mother's Day 2026, and I'll have a small ready-made collection, and then I'm going to do made to order for the summer.
I love it.
So you can find me on Instagram at One for Blue or Florence Mayblack.
We'll do
all roads lead
notes.
back to the clothes.
Thank you so much for today. This was
you for having me.
Fun.
I need to go shake off.
We'll make some fun TikToks.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty. You are just such a legend and an inspiration for motherhood.
Thank you.
Truly.
Thank you so much.
And you're hot.
Oh my God. That means so much to me as a 28-year-old mother of two. That means so much to me.
Iconic.
Yay, love you. Bye.
If you liked today's episode, please make sure that you leave us 5 stars on Spotify. A comment on either YouTube or Spotify would be incredible for us. We really appreciate it. Share it with your friends. Share it on your story. I hope that you have a great rest of your week in the sun, wherever you are tuning in from. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. We love you. See you soon.